Hey, everybody, welcome back to Eye Opener Society, the new radio formatted show where we are going to be moving to internet radio over the course of a few years. So the format may be different, but the show is still the same. It's expanding. We have so many new people. I am here with Lizzie again, which I know everybody missed. Lizzie, how have you been?
Good, just, exploring myself in the world as usual.
Yes, exactly. And I was made the comment that it gets to the point where I have to make an appointment just to text you, but that's a good thing. I appreciate it though, because in all due honesty, all the work that we do on ourselves is only there to benefit us. So I appreciate everything you do, and I'm always, happy to have you here by my side. But we have something else that's going to be released this coming Friday, or actually was released Friday. I forget. I'm still on podcast world. So we have an episode from a new podcast that's called The Sound Within. And just like I met you, Lizzie, on TikTok, I came across another wonderful, beautiful soul that I just was so connected to and I couldn't get enough of it. Her name's Hannah Rose, and she works with intentional breathing. And she also does the sound bowls, which is my thing because they're so mesmerizing to me. And I reached out to her because I said, this would be a beautiful thing for the show. We spoke. I spent a long time trying to come up with a logo. Came up with the logo because Hannah did her own artwork. And I was like, why didn't you tell me this in the first place? And
Which
we
is
made such
beautiful,
a
by the way.
yeah, it
Thank
is.
you, guys.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. So I want to welcome to the show Hannah Rose. Hannah Rose, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm really happy to be here, and I, again, was honored to be given my own platform within Eye Opener Society, and I'm definitely really excited to be here as a guest as well.
And we're very happy to have you. And we're going to kind of dive into a lot of what you do. So just kind of give us a gist of, what it is that you practice and how it's beneficial to you or anybody else.
Sure. So, sound healing is actually really that's what a lot of people know me as and call me a sound healer, but my main healing modality that I have used a lot in my practice is the shamanic breathing or the intentional breathing. And so the sound healing actually was a modality that came into my existence, soon after I got started with the breathing and really started looking inward. And I found out that I love the power of sound. And I discovered that at a plant medicine retreat that I attended just a couple of months ago and at the end of June. And I actually attended a lot of the ceremonies which people were using sound healing frequencies to conduct the ceremonies. And we did a lot of drum circles and stuff like that. And so I just really found my passion within that. And of course, through breath as well. And I came home and I made a fire pit in the backyard and I decided I'm going to start my collection and start playing with this because that's all, the intentional breath work has kind of and I don't like to call it breath work because that's not how it was taught to me. My mentor actually always taught me that it's not work because we do it innately to live each and every day. And so to call it work is kind of just, in my opinion, dishonoring it. And so I don't really like to call it that. And I just like to call it intentional breathing. That's part of my practice. And I started sharing it with the world on TikTok, and that's how you found me. So it's just a little bit of what I do.
That's
I
really
love
great.
that. I think people do focus too much on it being work and the hard process. I like to refer to it as playing. You play in your energy, you play in yourself, because just that simple rephrasing changes like the whole tone of everything you're doing. Yes.
And we, um, here at Eye Opener Society, as a society of collectives, I think you bring in such a beautiful aspect of something different. I'm the same way with sound. I started uh, probably 7 years ago with binaural beats. They've helped me tremendously. They help with my tinnitus, which drives me crazy, but the binaural beats just masks it all the time, and it places me into a wonderful, place. Your sound bowls, wind chimes, all that. When I hear any of those sounds, it's almost mesmerizing, and I will stop dead in my tracks when I hear sounds like that, and I just sit and I'm instantly in a meditative state. And now when you're doing the intentional breathing, this is something else that, when it comes to meditation, there is breath meditation, and I've practiced that too as well. So there's many aspects to this that, really is beneficial. Now, without getting all too personal, however, this is important because I know there's people out there probably going through a lot of other struggles. And Lizzie, this applies a little bit to you and even me. When it comes to being sober, I I was never really an alcoholic, but damn it, would I drink. And I mean, I will drink to the point of near alcohol poisoning just to have fun. And when we try to respect our bodies and treat it like the temple, that it is, this is not good. It's harmful. And I learned that. So I just kind of shut out alcohol. But Hannah, you had the same kind of experience, right?
Yes, I actually just celebrated my 5 years of sobriety a couple of days ago. And I did get started pretty young, using and, drinking wasn't really my thing. But when I started using, I was pretty young. It was shortly after I got pregnant when I was 16. So my daughter is now 8 years old. And so I was pregnant at 16. I had my child when I was 16. And so then when I turned, 18-ish, I really just kind of wanted to rebel and, have fun and do all of the things that I missed out on and everyone else was doing. And I was at home with the baby. And so I, got a little carried away and that lasted quite some time. But then I got sober in 2020, like about 2 years after I started using, and I actually that part of my journey is how I have came to meet my significant other and have the family that I do today because I went to Florida for treatment and met my partner and we ended up moving here to North Carolina just a couple of months ago in February, which is where I was really struggling for the past. I want to add because I kind of skipped over this part. They say that sobriety is really once you hit the 2 year mark of sobriety is when your brain fully goes back to normal, bounces back, and at that point, for me, when it did bounce back, whatever I was masking before with all of the using came about. And so with that, I really started struggling for about 2 years with my mental health, which had a lot to do with my obsessive compulsive disorder, which I didn't know, what it was at first until I got diagnosed, and it just came to a point. I was at my breaking point. I was kind of at rock bottom in sobriety. So I was in sobriety and I was doing all the right things, but life still showed up. And so then once I discovered the intentional breathing, it really allowed me to tap into the true essence of who I've always been and tap back into that with play. And, when I say play, I mean with my sounds and with my breath and just being creative and doing all the things that light me up that my fear was getting in the way of, like this podcast.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you
Yeah.
for listening.
I also did the kind of sober thing as was discovering my early spiritual journey. I did mine a lot slower. I didn't really realize mine was even a problem until my dad, best friend, and boyfriend at the time all approached me separately in the same week and was like, "Hey, you might have a problem." And then I'm like, "I might have a problem." So I kinda, like, slowly quit drinking as I, like, came into myself, and it was, like, a real slow, drawn out process. And I think it was because I was scared of that, sober rock bottom. Because every time that would hit, it's like I drank a little bit, so I would piece it out, which really just spread it out. You probably just did it faster and harder, and sometimes that's better.
I appreciate both of you honestly for sharing that. It's never comfortable, to talk about, basically our flaws. But as human beings, we're just flawed from birth because, there's never a manual that came with us, "Oh, this is what life is how we deal with it." So we just go through life making decisions that we think are right at the time or just going based upon, hey, this is what feels good at the time. So I appreciate both of you for both being here and for both taking steps to make your lives even better. And you're both beautiful people, and I appreciate both of you. So, what I wanted to do, Hannah, are you able to give us a little demonstration of intentional breathing?
Um, sure. I
No
suppose
different than your TikTok, okay? You
I
do it
don't
live
have
on
my
TikTok,
I don't have any of my instruments out here or
right?
anything,
Well, you
but
are the instrument.
yeah.
Hmm.
Thank you for that. Um, I really just to kind of give a preview, I guess, of what a normal practice for me would look like. And again, everything I learned about this was from my friend Amber June that really brought everything into my awareness. And now I just like to kind of spread that same love that was so generously given to me to other people that might need it. And so I always like to start my practice off just by kind of getting familiar with my breath, which they're not shallow breaths, they're pretty deep breaths. So sometimes they sound a little crazy. So it would sound kind of like this. "Ah, ah." Or I would, do in through the nose, out through the mouth, different patterns that you could work with. But that is just kind of the intensity of the deepness of the breath. And once I get familiar with my breathing and I really kind of tap into myself, at this point, sometimes I'm already feeling vibrations from it. And when I say vibrations, I'm talking about the DMT that's being naturally released from our lungs, and then it works its way up to our pineal gland and opens up your pineal gland to create an altered state of consciousness, which feels pretty good. Almost, I always like to say it's like a natural high. And I heard this thing about like getting high on my own supply, but it's breath. And so I felt like bringing that up right now for some reason. But I always like to then set my intention. So anything that I want to set into my reality during my practice, I would allow it to float into my mind like a cloud. So typically I close my eyes, allow it to float into my awareness like a cloud. And then once it's there, I start breathing into that intention. And I do that with 3 deep breaths, like I just demonstrated. But it can be whatever pattern is most comfortable for you. And then, really, once you do that, at that third breath, holding at the inhale and thinking into your intention and what you really want to bring about this practice, that's just a way of grounding yourself and knowing what you want to get out of what you're doing so that you can do it with intent. Hence the intentional breathing part. And then I would just continue to play with my inhales and exhales like that, however it feels good. On TikTok, on my TikTok streams, I do it a little bit more formally, I guess you would say, because I like to stick with a certain breath pattern to work with. But when I'm doing it on my own in my own bubble, I really just play with it. I allow myself to just, you know, feel into it.
I love that. I've actually found with myself with either sound or movement, like it's almost like the more cringier you allow yourself to sound and look, if somebody was watching you, the further your consciousness expands. It's like you hit that capacity and you're like, I'm gonna do it anyways because that's what feels good. And then suddenly it's just like it all flows. It's kind of fun. I would definitely do it differently if I was doing it in front of people. I think I was still grasping that one a little bit.
Yeah.
Certainly, I'm getting pretty crazy with the way that I sound and lip when I'm doing stuff, and that makes all the difference. Way
And
less structured.
yeah. And, the practice is all about allowing your logical mind to just turn off for a little bit so that you're not thinking about, what you look like or what you sound like to however many people are online watching me who I may not even know. Maybe, uh, maybe people are judging me, but when I truly allow myself to let my logical mind go, that question isn't there. I'm just doing what feels good and what is making me feel free and most like myself. And so that's why the practice is so special to me. And I'm not going to lie and say that sometimes when I am like laying down at night and I'm like, should I have posted that video or that clip of me? Is that embarrassing? Is that going to be judged? But
Well,
then I just tell my logical mind that's not true.
well, I'll say that everything that I saw that you posted, you just look so natural and just so like happy with yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna second that because, like, I never seen anything wrong with it. Like, as soon as I seen your videos, I knew exactly what was going on. But people just don't realize this is a practice. I mean, Native Americans sat around and done many rituals, and there's dances, and different cultures have all these. From the outside world, it's all about the perspective. But anybody is just focusing in on just, oh, this sounds weird. That's not the right way to look at these things. This is pure healing. And it was funny, actually. Hannah and I were talking about you, Lizzie, behind your back a little bit because one of your posts, Hannah reposted one of your videos about being comfortable, and I was like, "Yeah, Lizzie rocks." And I said, "Yeah, Lizzie doesn't care. She shows up, and she just doesn't care. She's going to put herself forward, no matter what state she's in." And that's true. And that's the same thing with you, Hannah. You're going out there and you're doing what you feel is really right for you, and you're sharing it with complete and total strangers. And of course, it's social media world, and not everybody's going to. But I think though you've helped many people. There's many people that really appreciate what you do, and the main thing that I found so exciting about it is that when I watch your shows, you are always happy, you're always smiling, and you have this aura about you. But I know that's because of all of this breath work that you're doing is bringing that out in you.
And I'm glad that you brought that up too, because that's also something that I was just discussing with my significant other before this podcast. Because I was really just kind of trying to mentally prepare just to come on here and be authentic with my expression, of course, of my practice and the message that I want to give to the world. And I was touching on the fact that uh, sometimes if I am out of character, someone might point out that I am always this light, airy, loving person on TikTok. And then how can I ever have negative emotions that invoke within me? And how can I ever lash out or do this and then pretend to be this person? I might remind you this is, my meditation that you guys are seeing. This isn't me 24/7. I'm not always this perfect person that has all the answers. I'm far from it, really. And I just want people to know that, um, you know, my expression in this is not to portray myself as this perfect person, but more so to express that imperfect people can also feel magical and authentic.
Well, yeah, that's so beautiful. I think it's so true. As like somebody putting yourself out on the internet, it's so hard because, of course, we all want to like put out the best of ourselves. But when you're doing it with like spiritual content, you're putting out a vibe. You're trying to create like a space of safety and comfortability for people to go into and be able to view and experience with you. But then also when you do that, yeah, it's like it's a double persona. I'll post this like beautiful worldly view on TikTok, and then 20 minutes later I'm, micromanaging my family, which is like the opposite of what I just talked about. But I'm still integrating. And I think that is one of the reasons why I'm trying to figure out how to get comfortable like learning out loud because it's true, like, this is something that I did a lot in the beginning. I looked at all these, like, beautiful spiritual people, and I'm like, "I'm doing that. I'm doing all those things, like, why am I still yelling at everybody?" It's because it's, like, a lot more in depth, and I think that the more people who learn out loud and are willing to view that flaw is, like, it gives everybody else permission. But it also kinda takes away from that, like, safety bubble of energy people can go to. And so it's kinda like it kinda depends on how like, what you wanna give to the world, and you don't have to give all of it all the time. It's just, like, what you wanna share, you know?
And that's why it's an intentional practice, we're practicing this
Yes. Yes,
feeling and
exactly.
this feeling of peace and this feeling of, like, harmony, and so if you are truly intentional about it and continue to integrate that, and it doesn't have to be every day. It could be, 5 minutes a week. But if you are intentional about that, then you're going to get what you are manifesting out of it. Confirmation lawnmower. Sorry about that.
It's all right. Just make sure no rocks get kicked up into your direction. That's all. I don't want that. Yeah, listen, that Lizzie and Hannah, both of you got beautiful views on that. And it's so right. We, as human beings, if we put our flaws forward, we'd be in a much better world, because, yeah, we try to always present ourselves as the perfect person and I'm better than everybody else. But that's just ego. Once we separate that ego and we just focus in on whatever it is we have to offer, then there's no problem. We show that to the world, and that's our gift to everybody. Just because I meditate doesn't mean I don't get angry. Just because I meditate doesn't mean I don't get sad. I meditate to help perfect each one of those emotions so I know how to deal with them better. You know, I have a lot of built up rage in me. I always have. I'm from, a tough city. I was born and raised in the Bronx. I still have that in me. It doesn't take much to trigger. However, the meditation has helped it. This meditation of intentional breathing has helped you. Lizzie, with her energy work, helps her to go through each one of her crises as they, show up. And I appreciate that. And I did. I seen Lizzie through them, in such a short period of time. And it's beautiful to see the change, the positive changes in people. It really is. And I appreciate that. So real quick, what I want to do, even though it's new, you have a podcast. I don't know who offered that to you, but wow, what a great what a great thing.
It's amazing. I'm very excited about it. I keep saying this and I'll continue to say I'm just honored to have been given the platform that I've been given. And I love your vision for Eye Opener Society. I know that you shared a little bit of how it came about and what you wanted it to be. And I think that you're doing a really good job at perfecting that vision by giving people that have a voice a platform to be heard on. And I think it's really important to point out that a lot of people are being silenced for their thoughts and their beliefs and their practices, especially when it comes to like holistic healing and things of that sort.
Yeah, you
And
can't build a community of unconditional love on TikTok. That's not okay. It's against
yeah,
community guidelines for minors.
yep. We were just talking about that, me and Lizzie,
Mm.
that she posted a beautiful message about just aligning your home life with your other life, I guess, something of that sort. And it got silenced, and it was a beautiful message, and it was said to be inappropriate. And so, with that being said, I am very pleased to see an uncensored society, if you will, called Eye Opener Society, and then to be a part of that and have my own podcast. I'm so excited. I'm so stoked. I was a little bit nervous about it because, of course, it's a platform and I'm going to be the host. So I just was kind of worrying about what I would say, if I would say all the right things, if it would sound good. And I think that is beside the point. I think that the point of the matter is just to
Show up.
self-express in, the most authentic way possible and share my message with the world. And so I've already recorded 2 episodes, as Gary knows. I have sent them over. The first premiere episode, of course, is coming this Friday, as you stated. And then we already have some more loaded up. So I'm really excited for these messages to be released because it's crazy when me and Gary had our first meeting just to kind of discuss logistics and everything. I was just having a conversation with him and I had a page in my notebook full of ideas of certain episodes, topics, things that I wanted to touch on. And I had like 10 ideas already off the rip. And so I'm really just excited to dive into all of these things that I want to express to all of you guys that are listening.
I'm so excited to hear it. I'm just so excited. I'm just waiting. I think when this episode comes out, I think it will have already dropped. But when we're recording it now, it hasn't. So
Yes.
Yeah, that was one of the discussions I had. I said, yeah, with the first podcast you did, I was like, you have to remember that there's no timeline here. Somebody could be turning this show on 75 years from now.
Yeah.
Everything's already happened. It's like, you can't say, well, next Friday, well, in the year 3030, what's next Friday?
See, and that's a concept I'm going to definitely have to get used to on here.
Yeah, it's fine. I do it myself all the time as well. I was like, oh, I was down at Appalachian Rootworks on such and such date. And then it's like, wait a minute, that's probably irrelevant whenever somebody's turning it on in their timeline. So it's good. And from what I hear, just if you have not yet tuned into A Sound Within, everything is beautiful. The way it's kind of like a storytelling voice that you have, and to me, it's extremely meditative, and I enjoy listening to it. And I hope that the rest of our listening audience can tune in and start following. And I'm pushing you to do the Facebook page, which I know you have in the works. This way we can find you on Facebook, but we can find you on TikTok. Hannah Rose, is it 164?
Yeah, so it's at Hannah Rose 146, and it's all lowercase. At Hannah Rose 146.
Yeah, so follow her on TikTok because she does her lives and they are really, really great. And you should at least check one out. Follow her podcast, A Sound Within. And she's not only going to be doing, the podcast, she's going to be a fixture here with Eye Opener Society because she's going to be that backup guest when I can't show up or when Lizzie can't show up, or if we just want somebody else's, perspective in on it. Lizzie and Hannah could do a show together, and then I could do a show with hey, it's going to change things up, and I really, really appreciate that because that's why I want, certain people to be in this platform. You're right. I don't want to silence everybody. I don't want Lizzie to have to say for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. It really is. We're trying to do something and say something that's so important, and then we got to destroy it with these stupid rules and regulations. Not here. So I'm going to have Lizzie recording shows herself. When she wants to get those messages, and if she wants to make them clear without being, banned or without having to say for, entertainment purposes only, she'll do it right here on our platform. And that's why I want more people to come. So if you're following Hannah, follow us. And it's not just because we want follows, it's because we just want a clearer, much more open society where, yes, we can speak what's on our mind. We all can be beautiful human beings. And we don't have to sit there and say, well, that's only for entertainment purposes only.
Because that is almost discrediting the beautiful message that Lizzie, and not only message, but messages that Lizzie has to share with the world, all the magic that is her, trying to be, pushed down And that's something that we are trying to steer away from. So I really hate that they're doing that to you too, Lizzie. And I
Yeah.
know that it's not only entertainment. This is real life stuff here.
I believe that the universe always conspires in my favor. And so if TikTok is trying to play with how I phrase things, maybe I need to address that because I am still learning to say my message even when others are not ready to receive it. And so, what a beautiful opportunity to argue with a robot versus a person,
And have your own platform on
And then have
Eye-Opener
my own
Society
platform
that's
here.
completely uncensored.
Yes, this was important and so beautifully timed. I met Gary like right before the first one got banned, and that one they actually took all my videos down and
Oh,
everything, and
no.
almost like was gonna delete it all, and then they just like gave it back to me like the next day, like nothing happened, and they're like, "Well, if you want to appeal it, you have to go in and like go to your notifications," but there was no notification. So it's like they don't even give me an opportunity. It's kinda interesting, and so but I guess this is a common one with the spirituality, so I'm just gonna go with that the universe is always conspiring in my favor, and this is clearly teaching me and guiding me to where I need to go, so, whatever happens there.
I love that sentiment.
Yeah, and it's funny, I always said, when it comes to this, why does spirituality get attacked? Why does nobody go inside of a Catholic church and sit there and say, "Hey, you have to say for entertainment purposes only"? Why is it only spirituality when we're just talking about something that's not mainstream? I never
Be
get that.
because we're empowering people, not corporations, and no matter how much you wanna put God in front of a church, that is a corporation, and we don't like that.
Bravo, Lizzie. Thank you. See, this is why you have this platform. You can say that here.
Yes. And your word is not only for entertainment. The message that you have to share with the world is really beautiful. I'm really glad that we've connected and that we are friends now.
Yeah, I'm so happy. Gary's so good at bringing these beautiful souls together. Like each time he introduces me to a person, he's like, "Oh, I met this really cool person." I'm like, "Wow, they're like one of the most beautiful souls I've ever met." And he
Yeah.
just does it over and over again. He's just got like a gift with that, I think.
He's like the cool kids. He's the cool kids table.
There you go.
Everybody's welcome. Everybody. I do appreciate that so much. And I appreciate you, Hannah Rose. Thank you so much for coming on this episode. Thank you so much for your podcast, A Sound Within. I want everybody to tune in. I want everybody to find you on TikTok. I'm going to have everything down, the synopsises. And also another announcement too. The OG of Eye Opener Society, my stepdaughter Hannah, was just given a show, given her own platform to bring her back into the mix. It's going to be called Hannah's Unrealistic Desires. And I can't wait for her to start giving me some episodes so I could start putting them out there. She has a voice and she needs to be heard too as well. And there will be no for entertainment purposes only on that because she is raw, emotional, and she lets everything show up in her voice. So I want everybody to stand by for that as soon as we start getting some episodes. So in the meantime, follow us. If you want to see the video versions of us, YouTube and BitChute. And thank you again, BitChute. You're doing wonderful. We've getting so many views on BitChute. And of course, we're on all platforms and we are now on Spreaker. Follow us on Spreaker because as we springboard from a regular podcast to internet radio, I'm going to jump to Spreaker eventually full time before going on and getting the internet radio station. So this is just the timeline that I have. So if you want, start following us on Spreaker as well. Hannah, thank you again for joining us. I'm going to keep following you on YouTube. I hope everybody else does. And Lizzie, thank you so much again for showing up, being my psychic. And I know Hannah mentioned it. And if it wasn't for Lizzie pulling me through with, as a new co-host and supporting the show and everything that I have in my head and helping me figure it out. Thank you, Lizzie. It's wonderful.
Oh,
Thank you
you.
so
Thanks for letting me
much.
be part of it.
And thank you guys for having me on. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. I love you guys.
Love you too, Hannah. Love you, Lizzie. And we'll see everybody soon. And we love this audience. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for joining us.